Chapter 1: Why We're More Stressed Than Ever. We are drowning in noise. Not the good kind, like crickets out back or an old Johnny Cash record on low. I mean digital noise. Notifications, group chats, emails at midnight. Nowadays, we make more data in a single day than humanity did in the entire 18th century. Can you imagine? Our ancestors were out there herding sheep and carving marble, and we're out here scrolling our thumbs raw on Instagram, wondering why we can't sleep. See your brain? It didn't evolve for 11 open tabs, 2 podcasts playing at once, and a doom scroll before bed. It evolved to survive the wild, not Twitter. The NIH even ran studies on it. This stuff fries our circuits. They call it cognitive overload. I call it trying to drink from a fire hydrant. And here's the kicker. We're not just overwhelmed by input, we're paralyzed by choice. Ever stood in front of your fridge for 10 minutes, staring at leftovers, Uber Eats, and frozen pizza, and still didn't know what to eat? That's decision fatigue. We spend so much time making micro decisions, reply or ignore, swipe or not swipe, heart or scroll, that by the time it really matters, like confronting a boss or setting a boundary, we got nothing left in the tank. Now toss in the comparison trap. We don't just compare ourselves to neighbors anymore. Nope, we're up against billionaires, influencers, and 19-year-olds with Lamborghinis. Back in my day, if your cousin had a nicer car, you'd shrug it off. Now we're being measured against 100 million highlight reels every day. And that, my friends, is a recipe for anxiety stew. But here's where it gets interesting. The Stoics, Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, those old boys had none of our gadgets. No TikTok, no Slack notifications, yet they understood fear better than any algorithm. Epictetus once said, "Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems." Now tell me that ain't the human condition in 2025. We don't fear what is, we fear what might be. That email that hasn't come, that awkward silence in a text, that look someone gave us on a Zoom call. See, Epictetus had a little practice I use to this day. He'd draw 2 columns, what's in my control and what's not. Let me spell it out for you. In my control, my thoughts, my effort, my reactions. Not in my control, layoffs, traffic, interest rates, Twitter mobs. This, my friends, is called the discipline of perception. You stop spending all your energy on what you can't steer and focus on what you can. Seneca, that grumpy Roman, had a similar trick. He called it premeditation malorum, basically planned the what's the worst that could happen game. He said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." Ain't that the truth? You ever spent 3 days stressing about something? A phone call, a doctor's visit, a tough conversation, and then it happened, and it was fine. Or it wasn't fine, but you dealt with it. We are building whole empires of fear out of things that haven't even happened. And that's where the ancient wisdom slaps the modern mind clean across the face. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, yep, a man with armies and enemies, plague and politics, wrote this in his journal. "Today, I escaped anxiety." Or no, I discarded it because it was within me, in my own perceptions, not outside. Now that's some Jedi-level clarity right there. Look, these old boys weren't perfect. They had bad days, but they knew one thing we've forgotten. In our click-hungry, always-on world, peace isn't found by controlling life. It's found by controlling how you meet it. If your phone's always ringing, your mind's never still. If your eyes are always on someone else's life, you'll never find your own rhythm. So step back, take a breath, shut the tabs, write 2 columns. Ask yourself, is this my circus? Are these my monkeys? If not, let it go. Because at the end of the day, your anxiety ain't coming from the world. It's coming from the way you're looking at it. Chapter 2. Why we worry about things that don't exist. Now let's get real for a second. How much of your worry is actually about something that's happening right now? Not yesterday, not next week, right now. If you're honest, probably not much. You see, the human mind, God bless it, is a double-edged sword. On one side, it can build cities, split atoms, write symphonies, but on the other, it can ruin your whole Tuesday over a meeting that ain't even on the calendar yet. You're not in danger, you're just sitting there, heart racing, chewing your lip, rehearsing a catastrophe that hasn't even RSVIP'd. Seneca nailed this centuries ago when he wrote, "Some things torment us more than they ought. Some torment us before they ought. Some torment us when they ought not to torment us at all." We are in the habit of exaggerating or imagining or anticipating sorrow. Let that sink in. We suffer in advance. We rehearse disaster like we're auditioning for a tragedy that may never happen. You got folks losing sleep over imaginary arguments, flinching from punches that ain't been thrown. I've known men, strong, sharp men, who could handle a crisis with steel in their spine, but get eaten alive by the thought of, what if? What if I lose my job? What if she leaves me? What if I get sick? What if the market crashes? Well, hell, what if it doesn't? And even if it does, what does worrying right now do except steal today's peace? Marcus Aurelius put it plain. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke. That's the real gut punch, ain't it? It's not the event, it's how you rate the event, how you label it, how you talk to yourself about it. That's where the suffering breathes. Now look, I'm not saying danger ain't real, but fear? Fear's often a mirage. You ever drive through fog only to realize it was just a low-hanging cloud, not the apocalypse? That's most anxiety. It's not reality, it's vapor in your mind. Socrates, one of the wisest to ever walk barefoot through Athens, once said, "To fear death, my friends, is only to think ourselves wise without being wise, for it is to think that we know what we do not know." Translation: we invent suffering by pretending we can predict the future, but none of us are prophets. Not me, not you, not your anxious aunt on Facebook. Seneca warned us too, saying, "It's ruinous for the soul to be anxious about the future and miserable in advance of misery." That's the part that really stings. Being miserable in advance. Letting your brain serve up secondhand heartbreak before anything even goes wrong. You know what I tell folks who come to me all tangled up in stress? I say, "All right, what's the worst that could happen?" Then we walk through it, step by step. Most times, the idea of the bad thing was 10 times worse than the actual event. Sometimes it even turns out all right, or better. Epictetus, the Stoic who was once a slave and still managed to be freer than most of us ever will be, put it like this: "Nothing else is the cause of anxiety or loss of tranquility except our own opinion." So we got to learn to spot the lies our mind tells us. And here's how. Next time you feel that rush of dread in your chest, pause. Ask, is this real right now, or am I living in a what if? Is this a tiger in the room, or just rustling grass in my head? That space, that breath between the thought and the reaction, that's where freedom lives. That's where stoicism breathes. You don't have to be a stonewall, emotionless and cold. You just got to stop letting ghosts run the show. And let me tell you, friend, most of those ghosts are self-made, paper tigers drawn in Sharpie on the back of your eyelids. So when the fear comes knocking, don't invite it in for coffee. Acknowledge it, smile at it like an old neighbor, and let it pass. Because more often than not...
Chapter 3. The Antidotes. What the ancients actually did to quiet the mind. Now let's get to the good part. What they actually did about all this. See, the old philosophers weren't just talk. They didn't sit around in togas, tossing out riddles and sipping wine while the rest of us panicked. These were folks who lived through war, exile, poverty, and plague. They buried their children. They lost their homes. And still, They held their minds steady like the mast of a ship in a hurricane. So how'd they do it? Let's start with Seneca. That old Roman had a trick called premeditation malorum, the premeditation of evils. Sounds grim, right? But it ain't about wallowing in worry. It's about preparing the mind, training it to walk through fire, barefoot, without burning. Here's how it works. You imagine the worst-case scenario on purpose. You sit with it. You feel it. And then you ask, if this actually happened, what would I do? And 9 times out of 10, you realize you could handle it. Might not be pretty, but it wouldn't kill you. Seneca said it like this: "For the only safe harbor in this life's tossing, troubled sea is to refuse to be bothered about what the future will bring, and to stand ready and confident, squaring the breast to take without skulking or flinching whatever fortune hurls at us." That right there is grit, stoic grit. Not denial, not fake positivity, just a calm, quiet readiness. Now Epictetus, he had another tool, the 2-column exercise. One side of the page you write things I can control, the other, things I can't. And then you let the second list go. Poof, not your job anymore. Your thoughts, your choices, your actions, those are yours. Traffic, layoffs, what folks say about you on Twitter, not yours. No man is free who is not master of himself. That's Epictetus. Ain't that the truth? We get all twisted up trying to control stuff that ain't ours to carry. And what does it cost us? Peace? Sleep? Sanity? You want to stop drowning in stress? Let go of the rope you don't need to be pulling on. And Marcus Aurelius, that emperor with the soul of a monk, knew how to breathe in the middle of chaos. He wrote, "Forget everything else. Keep hold of this alone and remember it. Each one of us lives only now, this brief instant. The rest has been lived already or is impossible to see." That's not just a calendar quote, that's a weapon against anxiety. Your worry lives in some imaginary tomorrow, but your power, that lives in now. The email you're typing, the child you're hugging, the breeze on your skin. As Epictetus said, caretake this moment. Immerse yourself in its particulars. Respond to this person or that person, this challenge, this deed. Quit the evasions. Stop giving yourself needless trouble. It is time to really live, to fully inhabit the situation you happen to be in right now. And let me tell you something, there's real medicine in that. When you're locked into the present, fear has no place to root. It needs time, mostly the future, to spread its claws. So what did these old sages do? They slowed down. They prepared without panicking. They stayed in their lane, and they trained their minds day in and day out like a soldier sharpens a sword, not for show, but for survival. Now, here's something I've told my kids and myself for years. Don't let your imagination bully your reality. You wake up feeling that ache in your chest, the one that whispers, "Something's wrong." Stop. Sit with it. Ask it, is something actually happening, or am I time traveling in my head again? Usually, it's just your brain playing defense against things it can't predict. But like Seneca said, even bad fortune is fickle. It may never come. So instead of fearing tomorrow, befriend now. Marcus Aurelius, the man ruling an empire while losing children to disease and friends to betrayal, still had the clarity to write, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." That's what they found. That's what you can find. You don't need a guru. You don't need to run off to a cabin in the woods. You just need to start where you are, with your next breath. And when you get better at that, worry won't disappear, but it won't own you either.
Chapter 4. How to stand inside uncertainty without losing yourself. Now let's talk about what most of us dread the most, not knowing. See, if fear is a fire, then uncertainty is the kindling. You don't even need a real threat, just a flicker of what if, and your brain's off to the races.
and it ain't running toward peace, that's for sure. We sit in bed at night thinking, what if I lose my job? What if they don't text back? What if the doctor says it's bad news? And on, a storm of guesses in a sky that might just stay sunny. Here's the stoic truth. The world's gonna do what it does. The storm will roll in when it rolls in. Your job is to build a house that doesn't fall down when it does. And that house? That's built on acceptance, moderation, and presence. Seneca, in all his sharp Roman clarity, put it this way: let us look carefully into the matter. You will suffer soon enough when it arrives, so look forward, meanwhile, to better things. That man had his feet on the ground. Don't suffer twice, once in your head and then again in life. Deal with life as it comes, not as you fear it might be. Let's talk practice. Step 1, name your fear, then test its reality. I've told folks this before. If your fear doesn't pass the "is it happening right now" test, then it doesn't get to live rent-free in your mind. Most of the time, it ain't happening. It's a story your brain cooked up while bored or scared. Step 2, find the middle path. Don't pretend bad things can't happen, but don't live in a bunker waiting for them either. Prepare, but don't panic. Stay light on your feet, loose hands, clear eyes. Step 3, learn to sit in discomfort without running. This is where most folks flinch. But listen, growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It happens in that weird, twitchy place where you want to check your phone, yell at somebody, or pour another drink, but don't. It's that moment of stillness where clarity shows up, just like Lao Tzu said. Hope and fear are both phantoms that arise from thinking of the self. When we don't see the self as self, what do we have to fear? That ain't just poetry. That's freedom. Because when you stop clinging to the outcome, the promotion, the reply, the guarantee, you stop giving anxiety a leash to pull you around by. One more from Epictetus to drive it home. Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happen the way it happens. Then you will be happy. Right there, that's courage. Not loud, not flashy, just the quiet courage to stand in the fog and breathe. So here's the deal. You can't make the world certain. You can't make people predictable. But you can build the kind of soul that doesn't fall apart when life doesn't go to plan. Don't aim for perfect. Aim for grounded. Get comfortable not knowing. That's where real peace starts. Not in having answers, but in trusting yourself enough to face whatever comes. Conclusion: the still point in a spinning world. Anxiety isn't some modern curse. It's a timeless fire. But these days, we keep pouring gasoline on it. We carry the whole world in our pocket, scroll past 1,000 disasters before breakfast, and wonder why our hands shake. But the real battle ain't out there. It's in how we think, in the space between stimulus and response, in whether we believe every wild thought that runs through our head, or if we pause, breathe, and choose better. The ancients knew this. Epictetus was born a slave but found more peace than kings. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire while carrying the weight of plague and betrayal. Seneca faced death with a steady hand. They didn't chase control, they chased clarity. They didn't run from fear, they studied it. And in doing so, they left us a map. Not out of the storm, but through it. A way to face life not with trembling, but with a calm brow and an open heart. So don't waste that instant worrying about shadows that may never come. Don't let your imagination steal your peace. Don't forget that the most peaceful place in the world isn't a beach or a cabin in the woods. It's your own soul, once you clean it up and sit still enough to hear it speak. You can't silence the noise of the world, but you can lower the volume inside. Now, if this message landed somewhere deep, if it gave you something solid to stand on in a spinning world, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and stick with us. The Stoics ain't going anywhere, and neither are we. Remember, friend, peace isn't found. It's built. One breath, one thought, one quiet step at a time.